Time. It's something we all experience, but no one truly understands. It's the one thing that moves forward without fail, taking us along for the ride. But what if, just for a moment, time itself broke its own rules? What if someone slipped through the cracks of history, arriving in a future that shouldn't exist for them? This is the story of Sergei Ponomarenko, a man who claimed to have done the impossible travel through time. To understand the mystery of Sergei Ponomarenko, let's first go back to 1958, in Kyiv, Ukraine. This was during the Soviet era, a time when life was tough, and the Cold War was in full swing. Sergei Ponomarenko was a 26-year-old man born in 1932. He lived a normal life for those days, working, spending time with friends, and enjoying hobbies like photography. Sergei was known to be passionate about capturing everyday moments on film, using his trusty Yashica 12 camera. The Yashica 12 was a popular camera in the 1950s and 60s, especially among photographers in the Soviet Union. It was known for its quality and durability, producing clear, sharp images. On an ordinary day in 1958, Sergei set out with this camera, intending to take pictures of Kyiv. But something strange happened. As he was taking photos, Sergei noticed an odd object in the sky, something he described as a flying saucer. After that, everything went black. According to Sergei's account, the next thing he knew, he was standing in a completely different world, the Kyiv of 2006. The city had changed dramatically, and nothing looked familiar to him. Confused and scared, Sergei wandered the streets, unsure of what had happened or how he ended up in a time 50 years ahead of his own. Sergei's appearance and behavior quickly drew attention. People on the street noticed his outdated clothing and the confused look on his face. Eventually, he was taken to a local police station, where he began to tell his incredible story. But this was just the beginning of a mystery that would leave everyone involved with more questions than answers. At the police station, Sergei tries to explain his situation. He tells the officers that he's from 1958 and that he has no idea how he ended up in 2006. The officers are naturally skeptical. They think he might be confused or mentally unstable. But when they look closer at Sergei, they start to realize something isn't quite right. His clothes, his camera, even the way he speaks, it all seems out of place, as if he really is from another time. Sergei's camera catches the attention of the police. It's an antique, something you wouldn't expect to see in the hands of a young man in 2006. But the real mystery lies in the film inside the camera. The police decide to develop the film, hoping it might give them some clues about who this strange man really is. When the police develop the film from Sergei's camera, they are shocked by what they find. The photographs show scenes from Kyiv, but not the Kyiv of 2006. These photos appear to be from the 1950s. The streets, the buildings, even the cars in the pictures all belong to a time long past. There's one photo that stands out. It shows Sergei himself, standing in front of a building that was demolished decades ago. The police compare these photos to old records, and everything seems to match. These pictures are not fakes. They seem to be genuine photos from the 1950s. One of the most convincing photos shows Sergei in front of a street that was completely changed in the late 20th century. The building in the photo had been torn down years ago and replaced with a modern structure. Experts who examine the photos confirm that they are consistent with the style, paper, and development techniques of the 1950s. There are no signs of tampering, which makes the mystery even deeper. The police and experts are baffled. How could this be possible? How could a man from 1958 suddenly appear in 2006 with photographs that prove his story? The more they look into it, the more questions they have. As the investigation continued, the police decided to have Sergei undergo a psychiatric evaluation. They thought he might be suffering from some sort of mental illness, perhaps a delusion that made him believe he was from the past. But as Sergei continued to tell his story, something strange happened. He remained calm, consistent, and genuinely convinced that he was from 1958. He spoke in detail about life in the 1950s, describing things that someone from the modern era would not typically know. The psychiatrists who examined Sergei found no signs of mental illness. He didn't seem to be lying or delusional. His knowledge of the 1950s was accurate, and his demeanor was that of a sane, rational person. He wasn't confused about anything except for how he had ended up in 2006. Despite several sessions, the doctors couldn't find any explanation for Sergei's situation. He genuinely believed he was from another time. Sergei's medical records showed no history of mental illness or trauma that could explain his condition. The doctors were left with no clear answers. How could someone be so sure they were from a different time, and yet show no signs of mental disorder? The more the doctors and police investigated, the more they began to believe that something truly strange was going on. But just as the investigation seemed to be reaching a crucial point, something even more bizarre happened. Sergei Ponomarenko disappeared. One day, he was in the custody of the authorities, undergoing further evaluation. The next, he was simply gone without a trace. No one saw him leave, and there was no sign of a struggle or forced exit. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Security cameras at the police station captured Sergei's last known moments. He was seen walking calmly through the halls, seemingly unaware that anything unusual was about to happen. But after that, there was nothing. Sergei Ponomarenko was never seen again, and no one has been able to explain how or why he disappeared. His disappearance added another layer to the mystery. Had Sergei somehow returned to the past, back to 1958? Or was there another explanation, one that we may never fully understand? Despite extensive searches and investigations, Sergei Ponomarenko remains missing, his fate unknown. After several investigations, the police made a surprising discovery. They managed to track down Yulia, the woman in the photograph with Sergei from the 1950s. Yulia, now much older, had her own story to tell, one that added a new layer to the mystery. According to Yulia, Sergei was disappeared in 1958 and returned few days later. And in 1960, he was disappeared once again and never came back. Sometime after Sergei mysteriously disappeared, she received a strange letter in the mail. The envelope was postmarked from the year 2050, and inside was a photograph that shocked her. The photo showed an older Sergei, standing in front of a futuristic city that was neither the Kyiv of 1958 nor 2006. Along with the photo was a note, written in Sergei's own handwriting. The note said that he was safe but couldn't return to her, and that he would always love her. This unexpected message suggested that Sergei had somehow traveled even further into the future, finding a way to send a message back in time. This part of the story deepens the mystery even more. The case of Sergei Ponomarenko has sparked countless theories over the years. Some people believe that he was a genuine time traveler, a man who somehow slipped through the fabric of time and found himself in the future. They point to the photos, his detailed knowledge of the 1950s, and his unexplained disappearance as evidence that something extraordinary happened. Time travel has always been a topic of fascination in both science and fiction. The idea that someone could move through time, either by accident or through some unknown technology, has captured the imagination of many. Could Sergei Ponomarenko be proof that time travel is possible, or is there a more rational explanation? Skeptics, however, have a different view. They suggest that the whole story could be an elaborate hoax or a modern urban legend. They point out that there is no concrete evidence to prove that Sergei was a time traveler. The photographs, while intriguing, could have been staged, and the story might have been embellished over the years. Others believe that Sergei may have suffered from a psychological condition that made him believe he was from the past, or that he could have been part of an experiment or cover-up. Whatever the case, the mystery remains unsolved, and the truth may never be fully known. The story of Sergei Ponomarenko continues to fascinate, leaving us to wonder what really happened to him. Whether fact, fiction, or something in between, the story of Sergei Ponomarenko continues to capture the imagination of those who hear it. It serves as a reminder of the mysteries that still elude us, questions about time, memory, and the limits of human understanding. Sergei's tale may never be fully explained, but it remains a powerful narrative that invites us to ponder the possibilities of the unknown. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of the unexplained and the macabre. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones that are true. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.